What's up players, Slot Player here, and today I will explain to you how to play a good blackjack. This is the second video in blackjack series. The following one will be about card counting. Like what you saw from Dusty Hoffman in Rain Man or Kevin Spacey in 21. In this video you will learn the basic strategy on blackjack and why is it good to follow those rules based on pure mathematics. So, as we have already explained in the past video on blackjack, it is the only casino game where it matters big time if you know how to play it or not. Okay, in some poker versions as in 3-card poker or Caribbean stud poker, it is also important to play according to the best possible rules. But in blackjack this is the most crucial, and it makes the biggest difference. Unlike for example on roulette where it really doesn't matter what and when you bet, you can even randomly throw chips on a table and it won't make a difference at all. Okay, to repeat, in blackjack the dealer plays according to the set rules and cannot decide what to do when it's his turn to play. That means that house has to draw cards as long as the total sum is less than 17, meaning the highest number house has to draw is 16. Also to repeat, each card is worth exactly the face value, while all pictures cards are worth 10 points. Ace is worth 1 or 11, whatever suits the best to the player. That means the most of the cards in the deck, 4 out of 13, are worth 10 points. Dealer will always show his first card, and then the player needs to adjust his play based on his first 2 cards against what the dealer is showing. This table shows what are the chances the dealer will bust by going over the total of 21. So if the dealer is showing deuce as his first card, he will bust on the average of 35.3% of times. If he has a 3, then it's at 37.6%, and so on according to the table. The most important thing to remember here is what we said, that the most of the cards have a value of 10 points. So if the dealer is showing a 6, then there are good chances that the next card will be a 10, and then on 16 he will need to draw another card, and there are good chances to bust. You've noticed that the biggest chances to bust are when the dealer is showing a 4, 5 or a 6. So in short, the basic strategy says that when the dealer is showing a weak card, player needs to attack. But when he's showing a good card, then player needs to park a bus and defend like Mourinho's teams do. Attacking means that on strong hands, player will add as much money as possible to the game, through splitting and doubling. While on the weak ones, when there is a chance of busting, player will not risk much and rather let the dealer play his weak hand. Player defends by risking and taking cards on the weak points total on which he would otherwise stay against neutral or weak dealer cards. That way player will bust on a few hands, but those that were improved to a strong total will hopefully beat the dealer and compensate for the ones lost. Now we are looking at the table of basic strategy. All you need to do is look up the column under dealer's first card and find where it crosses with the row of player score. For example, if a player has 13 and a dealer has 8, then the cell where those two cross is showing H in yellow, which means you need to hit and take another card. This area under dealers 4, 5 and 6 shows the main principle of the basic strategy. That means if the dealer is showing one of those weak cards and the player has a good initial score 8, 9, 10 or 11, then player hopes for the most common card, a 10, and should double down. But if player has 12 or more, then there are good chances to bust, and that should not be risk against dealer's weak hands. This section in the middle shows what to do if player has so-called soft score, meaning it includes the ace. We said that the ace can have a value of 1 or 11, whatever is better for the player. That means that if player counts ace as an 11 and then with that goes over 21, ace will become a 1 and there will be another chance to improve the score. So the strategy with an ace is a bit different. For example, on a hard 13, player would stop against dealer 6, but would double down on soft 13 against the same dealer's card. This section on the bottom shows what to do with pairs. It is always recommended to split 2 aces and 2 8s, while never split 2 10s. Splitting 10s is the easiest rule to remember, and on this you can see if the player knows how to play or thinks he knows. Amateurs that think they know how to play will split 10s against dealer's weak card. By doing so, they will compromise a hand that is almost certain to win into 2 most likely so-so hands. Anyways, it is estimated that by playing basic strategy, house advantage on blackjack goes from around 8% all the way down to between half and 1.5%. That will depend on house rules. For example, in some casinos you can double down only on 9, 10 or 11, some others will only pay 6 to 5 for a blackjack instead of traditional 3 to 2, and so on. All of that influences the house advantage, so I suggest to read the rules before sitting down at the table or playing online. For example, here you can see the declared return to player of 99.28%, meaning house advantage is that part missing up to 100. But even playing the best strategy will not guarantee a win. You can forget about it if you have no luck. On the other hand, you can play as the biggest amateurs and still get lucky that night. In the long run, casino always has the advantage, and the only way that can be shifted in player's favor is by counting cards, and that we will cover in the next video on blackjack. One more thing I have to explain even to the experienced players. It is a widespread belief that the player on the last box influences the game the most. For example, player draws a card on 12 against dealer 6 when according to the basic strategy he should stay. Then he draws a 7 and is very happy because he improved his total to 19. Then the dealer pulls a 10 followed by a 4 and everybody gets upset on the last box because if he played by the rules and stopped instead of drawing a 7, then the dealer would go over 21 and bust. In that case everybody would win, but now everybody lost. Now try to explain to those players that they notice only when this weak play ends up in house favor. But nobody pays attention when the amateur plays badly again, but because of that this time all ends up well for the players. For example, look at this video. Player has 15, dealer a 5. Player takes the next card, which turns out to be a 5. And after that dealer takes 2 high cards which make him bust. And so everybody wins when they would have lost if the beginner didn't take that 5. The truth is that at the end of the story, dealer will receive 2 cards and it doesn't really matter when. Last box player will do damage as many times as will do good with his bad style of play, and at the end of the day will only influence his own pocket. So I hope I have explained a bit the basics of basic strategy on blackjack. Guys, if you play a little bit and do not exaggerate. Never chase losses and play only with the money you can afford to lose. If you are playing blackjack, learn these basic strategy rules because they do make a difference. I will be making a video on card counting now, so if you are interested, press the subscribe button. Catch you next time, slot player over and out.